How about that? And now into a spiral climb. Once again, a handful of power. That helicopter working very hard indeed. Of course, there's no escaping the laws of gravity, because whatever goes up, at some stage it has to come back down again. Don't take your eyes off. All the way up, and corkscrew all the way back down again. Well, the Royal Air Force operates the largest fleet of the Chinook support helicopters after the United States Army. Been in service with the Royal Air Force since 1980. One of the hardest working aircraft types in the Royal Air Force, just because it is so useful, so versatile.
So versatile.
Lifts so much, carries so much. Now this is a somewhat unusual attitude for a helicopter. It's more like a fixed wing approach to landing. This is something that we do in training, just in case you have a problem with one of the engines. You can almost land this helicopter conventionally.
Now, is he simulating an engine failure right now?
He is indeed.
So he's really coming in with power to only one of the two engines.
That's correct, Rob. But once again, just keep watching that helicopter. Normally, of course, the nose wheel would come down on the runway, and the aircraft was gently lifting off. How about that, ladies and gentlemen?
He's taking off backwards. Do not try this at home, ladies and gentlemen.
For 1 second, of course, because this has been so apt to describe, ladies and gentlemen, as an elephant doing ballet. It is truly stunning.
And bows.
And a huge bow.
I'd say. You know, I have to say that the new rules of Washington, D.C., the privacy have seen very much in the way of aircraft at all, but we do see helicopters. And this is one of my favorites.
And it is a remarkably large helicopter. Of course, back in the Operation Corporate, early 80s in the Falkland Islands, very famous Chinook helicopter. The one that didn't go down on the Atlantic Surveyor was basically flown and flown and flown and broke all sorts of records for heaviest load, lifted, the most number of people carried. And look at this very tight orbit here Rich is flying.
Coming right at us.
Take a look underneath. You see some hard points underneath the fuselage. This aircraft capable of lifting very large underslung loads. Now this is the roller coaster. Rich pulls up, very uncomfortable.
He was floating in that seat. I know that he was zero G.
And just to make sure, he's going to do it all over again.
When I refer to zero G, folks, that means that his feet will float off the pedals if he's not careful, and he'll actually float out of the seat if his belt isn't tight. It's like being in space.
When on use in operations, this aircraft can fly extremely low, what we call nap of the earth flying, literally right down in the weeds, or more likely right down in the sand, equipped with a range of sensors and defensive aids to enable it to get into very difficult places, do whatever it needs to do, and get out again. Now earlier on I mentioned about the signature manoeuvre for the Chinook helicopter, the 270-degree quick stop, kind of handbrake turn for helicopters. Keep watching now, as I'm expecting that manoeuvre to be repeated.
All right. My eyes are on it, and I'm sure everyone else is watching too. Whoa!
Now once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for some audience participation. You'll see the ramp has opened at the back. The crewman will magically appear on that ramp, and as we traverse sideways along the crowd line, he's looking at you, you're looking at him, he's waving at you, so wave back.
What a ham. What a pilot. What an aircraft. Yes.
Well, the entire fleet of Royal Air Force Chinook helicopters are based at Royal Air Force Odium in Hampshire. Whether you travel along the M4 or the M3 towards the West Country, these are very familiar sights over Salisbury Plain. On exercise with the Army, they certainly do work very, very hard.
Do one heck of a job, too.
Absolutely.
Reminds me of one of my favorite little slopes, Freedom.
Of course, that manoeuvre you've just seen in a fixed-wing aircraft would be called a stall turn. In a helicopter, we call it a pedal turn. And there's a steep spiral down as well. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, time to show your appreciation. Flight Lieutenant Richardson, co-pilot Flight Lieutenant Rob Paul, the Royal Air Force Chinook.
And not to be forgotten, Squadron Leader Andy Palsy, our commentator here, who knows these fellows and works with them closely and does a wonderful job of sharing with us what's happening. Thank you so much, Andy, for being up here today.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Unraveled the mysteries of these rotorhead helicopters.
Well, it's a pleasure to be up here. And, of course, you'll see the Chinook helicopter, well, at least once more today.
Good.
And incidentally, Flight Lieutenant Charlie Matthews, the Typhoon display pilot, will see the Typhoon display later on towards the end of the day. He's currently in the pilot's tent. So if you'd like to meet a real, in-the-flesh Typhoon pilot, he's in the pilot's tent at the moment, which is located immediately behind the commentary position.
We have so much going on in this 3-ringed or 30-ring circus called Biggin Hill, the most famous aerodrome in the history of the area, probably in our opinion, the history of the world. We've got displays, we've got games.